Hi there, Janet Fritz here for Galaxy Girl Creations. Welcome to my channel and welcome to Series 12 of Christy's Beautiful Life, 30 Days of Sketches. Today we are using an exclusive sketch from Jessica Michaels, and I thought this was a really cool sketch, although I'm not really one to normally cut my photos into circles, so I'm going to leave them as full size, well, almost full size 4x6. They're printed on my selfie printer, which prints slightly smaller than a 4x6, plus I add a border, so even a little bit smaller than that. I am starting out with some mixed media. She's got mixed media on hers. I'm using some Distress Oxide Spray and Lost Shadow, as you just saw there. I'm just spraying it onto some bubble wrap, and I am spritzing a little bit of extra water on there to get some movement and flow of the color, and I'm just pressing it down onto the paper. Nothing super fancy. I don't even mind if I'm going over the same area multiple times. I'm not really trying to get the bubble wrap effect. That wasn't my goal. I don't mind it, but the fact that I'm going over it multiple times, it kind of muddles that effect, which I'm totally fine with. So I'm really liking the way this looks in this photo. Almost everything is gray except for the clothes that the little girl is wearing. That is the older of the two girls that I take care of. And this picture is during COVID, so it's a few years old now. When I say during COVID, during 2020. So I did decide to use this cut file. I don't know where I got it from. It's been in my cut file binder for quite some time, and so I'm not really 100% sure where it came from, but I'm going to go ahead and use it. I'm spraying it with some media gloss from Dina Wakley in both Evergreen and Lime. Evergreen is the darker of the colors, and Lime is, of course, the lighter of the colors, but the Evergreen color doesn't really say Evergreen to me. It's more like a kind of like a mowed lawn or grass green. It's not quite as dark as I would expect Evergreen to be. So I'm liking the way it looks. It doesn't bother me that it's not dark. I knew that going into it. I did put some 4x6 sheets or 4.5 by 6.5 inch sheets of paper behind it, just to capture the spray, because I will use those on a different layout sometime. And I thought it was a good use of it to kind of use that as a mask. Now I'm using Twisted Citron and Mowed Lawn to do some stamping with this stamp from Stampers Anonymous. It's called Brush Strokes or something like that. I picked this up on Amazon. It's from Stampers Anonymous, and I'm not sure if it's retired or, I don't know how old it is basically, but Amazon had it, so I am going to go ahead and I picked it up because I really liked it. I used the circles for a layout in during May I Scrap Lift You that I had borrowed, and I borrowed the stamp set from MK, and I really liked it, so I went ahead and picked it up. So I'm going with 2 different shades of green here to create that pattern that she's got on the sketch. Now, you could easily do that with some washi, with some paint strokes, with some strips of paper, branding strips, even a ribbon or something to that effect. I chose to use paint or this ink because I'm going with a mixed media background, and I really like how it looks. So there's not a ton of green even in this layout, except that her shorts are green and her shirt, but she does have a gray sweatshirt over, so you're not seeing a ton of the green. But I do like that it kind of emphasizes the green in the photo, and then the rest of it's pretty much gray. So I am just sticking with these 2 colors and basing it right off of that photo, and I like the way that it looks. Now I'm using my distress tool from MK over at Some Assemblage Required, and I am loving this thing. I think I say this on every video that I use it on, which is quite a bit lately. I'm not somebody who normally liked distressing things because it was not very comfortable for my hand, given my distress tool was tiny, the little slots that the paper went in was tiny, and it would always come out. It was just kind of a hassle. But in this case, I like it because this tool is really easy to hold on to, and so I think it's really fabulous. Now I am going to back my entire layout with this piece of paper that I am inking the edges of, and I chose to go ahead and ink the edges so that it matches really well. So I did use the Mowed Lawn there and inked up the edges. I don't keep cardstock in my stash, so this is my way of fulfilling that cardstock type of need. I don't use cardstock a lot except for these types of purposes maybe. And even then, a lot of times I will just use a pattern paper that's maybe a tone on tone. But just to show this little edge, I thought the inking it would just work perfectly. I am distressing these edges just a tiny bit more, and I like the way that it looks. In the sketch, she does have some torn out edges there. I've torn my edges. Well, I used my scissors to kind of control where I tore them, and then I used the distress tool to kind of grunge them up a little. And then I'm going to my sewing machine. I picked out the darker of the two green threads that I have, and I just stitched all the way around the outside, including I just did that indentation around the two areas where the paper was torn. I'm going to add a little bit of washi over the back so the stitching doesn't come undone. I know there's a lot of people that like their stitching to kind of be a little unraveled on the front side. Typically, that's not my thing. I will do it once in a while, but I normally pull the threads through the back and then just washi tape them. And I like the way that that looks. Okay, so I've got these two photos. I'm going to go ahead and put those down. My stars are dry now, and I really like the way that they look, especially with the media gloss, because it adds a glossy kind of a texture to it that you don't get with, say, like my Dilutions or something like that. So it just brings in another texture. I do love my Dilutions just for a different purpose, and I just think these look really cool. So I am going to bring those in, and I'm just cutting them off into little triangles of 3, and I'm going to scatter them on either side here, and then I'm going to do a single one at the top and at the bottom of the layout there just to kind of go diagonal across. And then I am using some fun foam that I'm cutting into little tiny strips or narrow strips, and I'm going to back all of these stars to give them a little lift and pop and added dimension. And I really, really like the way that this comes out. While I work on that, don't forget there are a bunch of people playing along with 30 Days of Sketches. There is a playlist down below that you can go and check out in case you want to check out all of the inspiration that has been posted so far. And don't forget to leave Christy a little bit of love for putting this series together for her 12th time. And leave Jessica a little love too, because this is an awesome sketch that she's put together, and it's incredibly generous of her to create a sketch for this series. So thank you for that, Jessica. I really enjoyed using this sketch, and I thought it was a lot of fun. Okay, now that I've got my stars all popped onto some foam, I'm just adhering them down with some Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, and I really like the way that this glue works. They dry pretty quickly this way, and it goes on really thin, even as narrow as those little pieces are. So that is an awesome little way to use this. Otherwise, you know, it's kind of a pain trying to put the ATG or another dry adhesive on here. So liquid glue works well for this. So I just cut those edges of the stars off that were sticking off of the layout. And now I'm going to work on my title. It is going to be COVID Cutie. I know she doesn't have COVID, but it is during COVID. So that was the intention of this. And I'm just using some thickers, trying to still use up my thickers. I still really enjoy using my dyes and creating my own. But when it comes to sometimes having a color like this that's sparkly and I know it's going to work well and I have enough letters for it, I will go ahead and still use my thickers because I've got so many in my stash. I'm just trying to work through them as much as I can, even though oftentimes I use my dyes. Now I will have links down below to the products that I used in this video in case you are interested in purchasing any of them, so you can check those out there. I have it for 3 different stores in case you know, you prefer one store over another, so you can check those out down below. Now I do have a couple of little stamps that have stars, and I have attached them to the tip of my Muji pen. They are so tiny, these little stars, and I probably should have stamped these stars prior to putting the big stars down, but I didn't. So I'm using my Muji pen as my little stamping block so that I can get in these little tiny areas. And I'm just using some Blackjack ink from Catherine Pooler, which is a really dark gray, kind of a charcoal gray. And I didn't want them to be super bold as in black, but I do want them to show up. So I thought that gray worked really well. And I'm just kind of randomly stamping them around the different areas of stars. Now I do want a little bit of dark in this layout, some black to make things pop. So I pulled out my star label stamps from Elle Studio, and I am stamping them in black onto some white paper, and I'm going to use those to create a little bit of a journaling area. And I'm using 2 different sizes. I'm going to put the two or maybe even 3 different sizes. But I am going to put one right here above the photo. One's going to go kind of at the top, and then one's going to go below the title, and that'll give me a little bit of area to write, or actually it'll give her mom a little bit of area to write in, so that she can just make some notes about what life was like during COVID, or things that we did. I actually think I'm the one who took these photos, but you know, we did a lot of different things during COVID than we normally do. Normally she would have a gymnastics class and a music class and that kind of stuff. But of course, all those things were closed during COVID. So we did a lot of things from home, a lot of walks we went on and that kind of stuff. And then she did have preschool for a portion of it. So when preschool opened back up, she was able to go to preschool. And then I had her little sister. So that is it, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave those down below. I will be happy to get back to you as quickly as I can. I know it does take me a little bit of time, but I do read and respond to every single one of them. So thank you for watching and spending time with me today. And don't forget to check out the playlist down below in case you are interested in getting a lot more inspiration. And I will see you guys again tomorrow. Bye-bye.